And now, natural progression.
Boss battles! I just love them, and while last time I counted down my favorite boss battles, this time it's time to count down my favorite final bosses. While bosses can be compared to tests of your skills, final bosses can be compared to semester exams testing all of the skills you've learned. Great final bosses also tend to have the best atmosphere, the best music, and are just the most exciting. But most importantly, a great final battle just has that something that screams, "It's time to end this!" You all know the rules, so let's just get down to business. But before I do, this goes without saying. Spoilers are everywhere! And if you have your own favorite final bosses that I don't cover, feel free to share them. Okay, now that we've taken care of that little detail, grab your best equipment, stock up your items, and make sure you drop a nice save. It's game time! Sometimes creativity can show up when you least expect it. Case in point, we're starting off with a boss from a fighting game, Ragnarok from Arcana Heart 3. This divine celestial weapon is set to sink Japan, and the only things standing in its way are a girl and her Arcana partner.
Hey, no pressure, right?
The goal of this fight is to destroy the celestial stone cores that serve as its weak points. Oh, and I use the term weak points loosely because they'll be firing at you with bullet rain. Not only that, but you gotta deal with its two satellite bits that pester you as well. Sure, you can knock those down, but they get right back up after a while. And that's not even counting the giant mech super moves, which include raising its staff to produce a rain of lasers and creating pillars of flame across the floor. Oh, and to make things more tense, there's a 60-second time limit, and you have to beat it before time runs out if you want the good ending. Otherwise, if you win by timeout, well, let's just say something bad is going to happen. This fight tests your mastery of the homing dash as well as your defensive tactics, and it shows a level of creativity not often seen in fighting games. I mean, this looks like something out of Toho! Yeah. Ever since his first defeat, he's been waiting, seeking his revenge. He turned against his own creator to satisfy his revengeance. He copied the data of our heroes, and now he's become near invincible. All for one purpose, the utter destruction of his nemesis.
I am the ultimate overlord, Metal Sonic!
Metal Sonic was designed to be better than Sonic in every way possible, and it was a complete success. This is evident in this final battle, in which you not only need the Chaos Emeralds, but also
the real superpower!
No!
Anyways, while Sonic is powering up, the other teams deal with Metal Sonic's first evolution, known as Metal Madness. During these phases, Metal Sonic attacks with flamethrowers, ice spikes, and his tail, as well as crystals that can capture your teammates. He also forces you to avoid spamming the same attack because he can change his resistance. After Team Rose, Team Chaotix, and Team Dark, in that order, do their job, Metal Sonic transforms into the Metal Overlord and flies off. Meanwhile, Sonic transforms as well, and...
Okay, I have to call bullshit on this. Sonic gets a super form, but all Tails and Knuckles get our shields? Both Tails and Knuckles had super forms in the Genesis games. Oh, and don't try to tell me that only one person can use the Chaos Emeralds at a time. Sonic Adventure 2 had 2 superpowered hedgehogs in the finale, and that was the game before. So there's no excuse!
Anyways, this is the best part. As Team Super Sonic, you have to counter the Metal Overlord's attacks to build your Team Blast gauge. Each attack has a different counter, so everyone gets a chance to shine. And the ultimate Team Blast looks amazing. Best of all, the boss theme, What I'm Made Of, is one of the best themes in the series. I know CJ brought this up before, but why wasn't this in Brawl? Well, let's hope it's in the next one, or I'm gonna have to smack a bitch. Maybe Princess Elise, she deserves it. One thing I get a lot of flack for is making top 15 Castlevania boss battles without having played Lords of Shadow. Yes, I know all about the fight with Satan in the first game, and you know what? I still prefer the final battle of Portrait of Ruin. A great final boss should take full advantage of a game's mechanics, and what better way to finish off a game that relies on teamwork than a tag team battle against the series' 2 most iconic antagonists? I've covered this fight before in my Castlevania list, so I'll be brief here. What makes the first phase of this fight work so well is how effectively Dracula and Death work together in coordinating their attacks. You'd be surprised at how well Death's attacks interfere with your dodging Dracula's projectiles. This is especially well shown during their team-up attacks. The second phase, True Dracula, works because of how imposing Dracula's true form is and how powerful his attacks are. Also, using your partner's skills is essential to surviving, especially when he tries to crush you with his giant-ass wings. The teamwork between Jonathan and Charlotte is used extensively throughout the game, and to see a final battle take full advantage of that aspect of the game really speaks volumes. And consider this. In the series chronology, this is the final time Dracula appears as the final boss in a game. If you're gonna make a stand, you may as well make it memorable, right? Now I know what you're thinking. If this is my favorite fight in Castlevania, why is it this low? Well, I just like the other 12 better. It's that simple. In a game with bosses that look like the rejects from various movie genres, a fight with a superpowered pimp doesn't seem that out of place. The Black Baron is an interesting case. He's not some corporate mastermind or political tyrant. He's just out to introduce his backhand to your face because you're cramping his style. Despite having pretty much no build-up whatsoever, this was a fight to remember. This is mainly because the Baron fights you on your level. It's a one-on-one, no-holds-barred fight to the death. Considering this guy survived being used as a test dummy by his hoe to demonstrate the bloodbath challenges, which, by the way, she'll do to you if you get knocked out of the ring, it stands to reason that this guy is built like a tank and hits like one too. Thankfully, Jack can match him blow for blow, a fact which is taken literally during the power struggle. But then something happens when he reaches half health. You know how some bosses have a rage mode? Yeah, this is taken to the extreme here. He gains several supernatural attacks, including a lightning dive, a rocket punch, and a black hole that's an instant kill if you don't keep backflipping. On top of that, the music changes from the laid-back tone of Look Pimpin' to the outright rage of So Cold. This is a challenging fight, but it's worth it for the satisfaction of the finisher.
Now what should I go with here? The Civil War joke or the one that makes no sense?
This final battle was well worth enduring bosses like the Shamans and Frank, delivering on the factors that made this game fun. The challenge will keep you on your toes, the music is catchy as hell, and the Baron himself is just plain memorable. And let's be glad he was able to survive as much as he did. After all, he came back in Anarchy Reigns, didn't he? You know, for such a cute little guy, Kirby's had to deal with some shit. He's fought off a nightmare, stopped a manipulative jester, saved the universe from dark matter on multiple occasions, and even helped a friendly little alien named Magalore rebuild his spaceship and... Magalore? What are you doing? Magalore? Stop! Fuck that! This bastard's going down! As you pursue Magalore aboard the Landia dragons, you go through a shooter section in which you tear apart the very ship you helped rebuild. It's a fun fight as you dodge its various attacks and strike back. But the real battle starts when you ground the Lore Starcutter. With the power of the Master Crown, Magalore has a ton of attacks at his disposal, including Dark Energy, Spikes, Fireballs, Lasers, and even a Black Hole! Ultimately, Magalore puts up a shield which you need to break using the amazing super abilities. Once the shield is down, you need to attack Maggie one last time with your Ultra Sword leading to a power struggle. Win that, and you cut the Sorcerer to ribbons. But even that isn't enough to finish him. Magalore's malice fuses with his crown, and he gains the ability to project dark matter walls, barrel roll through dimensions, and use super abilities of his own. And if you upgrade to Extra Mode, he'll throw in room-filling lasers and screen flips absolutely free. For a Kirby boss, this is tough. Magalore's wide array of dangerous attacks will give you a handful if you're not prepared, but that makes the fight that much more exciting. Throw in some awesome atmosphere and the absolutely godly music, and you have a fight that nothing in Kirby can top.
And by the way, I'm still waiting for someone to do a Kickstarter for Dragon vs. Spaceship. Just saying.
You've hacked your way through countless mooks, fought off 10 powerful assassins, taken down your murderous half-sister, and just want to take a dump when who shows up? Mr. Sir Henry Motherfucker. Ever since this Irish fancy pants decided to be a kill stealer, you've been wondering when you'd get the chance to teach this guy a lesson. And while a motel parking lot is probably the last place you'd expect to have a lightsaber duel, this fight is freaking awesome. Henry is an absolute menace with his beam katana. His combos are insane, his counters are powerful, and he can even shoot energy balls. He also has a crap ton of health, so you can't afford to be careless here. Oh, and he has a one-hit kill move that's actually worth seeing, and at least you'll know when it's coming a mile away. And of course, let's not forget the boss theme. We are finally cowboys. It's just mind-blowing. And in the end, we have one of the most hilarious cutscenes in all of gaming, in which Henry utterly annihilates the fourth wall.
You're the protagonist. I'm just a cool, handsome foil who happens to be your twin brother.
Jeez, Henry, theatrics much? It's no wonder this guy was made playable in the second game. If only for one bizarre fight. Anyways, this is one fight to remember. Hilarious setting, an amazing challenge, awe-inspiring music, and a character that's memorable for all the right reasons. And he's certainly a better final boss than...
No, that dead horse has been beaten to a bloody pulp already. I don't want to talk about him again.
Remember that little cliffhanger at the end of my last list? Yeah, turns out that Dixon, who is your ally for most of the game, is actually a disciple of the real villain, Zanza, who was hanging out in Shulk's body the entire time. And now the megalomaniacal god has two Monados and wants to, that's right, destroy the world.
Because, that's completely original.
So after Shulk somehow survives, and after two awesome battles and one annoying one, the heroes confront Zanza in space.
Any Portal references will be given the Dio treatment.
As you would expect, Zanza has lots of crazy powerful attacks and a ton of resistances and immunities. He also has the power to summon his guardians to get in your way. On top of that, bear in mind here that your Monado is a replica, meaning you have to perform a quick-time event in order to receive a vision. This fight relies on managing your talent gauge and knowing which arts to use and when, especially in the second phase. The atmosphere is awesome as well, and the boss theme here is pretty unique as well, combining electric guitar, ominous chorus, and jazz piano? Okay. After the second phase, you are treated to one of the most inspiring cutscenes in the game and are given the greatest gift possible. You receive the game's ultimate sword, the Monado 3, with a 75% critical rate and utterly destroy Zanza. Meanwhile, the theme changes to a choral orchestral masterpiece, heralding your inevitable victory, fittingly titled The God-Slaying Sword. Just listen! Everything you've gone through in this masterpiece of a game has led to this moment, and the payoff is just excellent. And you know what else would be excellent? Putting Shulk in Super Smash Bros. 4! The final battle of Okami against the Lord of Everlasting Darkness, Yami, is long, but man is it epic. As the fight begins, Yami steals your powers, and you only have your meager physical attacks to start with as you literally beat your powers out of him to get them back. Once you get your first power back, it becomes an all-out struggle as you find an opening to counter his attacks and expose his core, which happens to be a freaking fish. Throughout the fight, Yami transforms several times, from a mechanical ball, to a ball on fire, to a slot machine that doesn't rely on luck, and finally into a two-legged walker with electric whips for arms. Along the way, you get your powers back one by one and put them to use right away, ultimately putting the Dark Lord in his place. But just when you think it's over, Yami springs back to life, destroys the brush spirits, and leaves Amaterasu for dead. Way to be a buzzkill, Yami! What follows is a moving scene in which Isun accepts his role as the Celestial Envoy, and the people give Ami their prayers, restoring her to full power and giving her the strength to take on Yami's final form, a giant hand. With the power of Sunrise restored, you expose Yami's weakness and finish him off. Not only is this fight long and satisfying, it's filled to the brim with symbolism. Yami himself is a complete symbol of the dark side of humanity's nature. The fish symbolizes that all evil starts small. The first phase shows humanity's desire to crush. Phase 2 is man's desire to burn. Phase 3 is man's desire to gamble. Phase 4 is man's desire to use machines for destruction. Finally, Phase 5 represents the fact that all evil is committed by mankind's own hands. Speaking of the final phase, the boss theme, Rising Sun, has been used so often that some people say it's become overrated. Overused? Maybe. Overrated? No, and in case you missed the first time, hell no! It deserves every bit of praise it gets, as does this fight. The fight with Yami has so much going for it. Great build-up, great atmosphere, awesome gameplay, and plenty of symbolism. Rendering his appearance in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom completely insulting and only there so Capcom could have a multi-phase boss. God damn it!
Kefka Palazzo.
Seriously, what can I say about this guy that hasn't been said already? This nihilistic clown has made everyone's life a living hell just because he can. He's stolen the power of the Warring Triad, brought the world to ruin, and become the god of magic. Joker ripoff? Ha! The Joker could only dream of pulling off this shit. Trust me, you will love to hate this guy by the finale of the game. But before you even get to him, you have to scale a final gauntlet that takes miles of symbolism that's both played straight and completely mocked, both in the statue's appearance and the movements of the epic theme known as Dancing Mad. For starters, the three tiers of the statue are believed to represent the three realms depicted in the Divine Comedy: Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso respectively. The third phase of the statue, as a matter of fact, directly mocks Michelangelo's Pieta. As for Dancing Mad, each movement reflects a part of Kefka's personality. Phase 1 represents Kefka's thirst for power and love of destruction. Phase 2 represents his insanity. Phase 3 represents Kefka's god complex to the point where it lifts its main melody directly from Toccata and Fugue in D minor, and then actively mocks it. And then, the final phase. By this point, Kefka realizes that he just may be fighting a losing battle, and at first he can't accept it, and pretty much starts throwing a humongous temper tantrum as the music breaks into insane anger. Then at one point, it changes to a somber and sorrowful tone, as if to say that Kefka knows that after all the chaos and destruction he's caused, he's about to die, and there's nothing he can do about it. He doesn't even try to curse his final defeat. That speaks volumes without a single word. However, with all this symbolism, the gameplay of this fight is, in all honesty, pretty standard. Sure, Kefka's attacks are powerful and sometimes cheap, but that's pretty much it. The only thing that changes is that you line up your entire party before the fight, going down the list as a member goes down. Gameplay nitpicks aside though, this is a fight loved by many, and for good reason.
And besides, what can you really do with a Super NES turn-based RPG's battle system, right? Well, except a little extra dialogue. Smack! Not what I meant!
Okay, there's really only one way to introduce this fight. Roll the clip.
Hello again. Pit.
Hades!
Pit.
Hades!
Pit.
Hades!
Pit.
Hades! Excuse you. But anyway, now it's real! On to victory!
Oh, hell yeah! Literally! If you've played Kid Icarus Uprising, you had to have seen this coming. Hades is one of the most memorable villains in recent memory, and for all the right reasons. Even more than 2 years after the game's release, people are still loving this guy, if Hades Rips is any indication. But I'm getting a bit off topic here. The final battle is equal parts hilarious, intense, and epic. This plays out like any other air battle in the game, with the slight difference that you're piloting a mech suit. Meanwhile, Hades is loaded to the teeth with weaponry, from lasers to homing shots to face guns to his rainbow apocalypse.
I prefer to think of it as my devastation ensemble.
Okay, whatever. All the while, throughout the fight, your great sacred treasure switches forms as it takes damage. Ultimately, Hades survives getting sawed clean in half and bounces right back to crush what's left of the great sacred treasure, followed by Medusa appearing and sucker punching Hades' head clean off. And guess what? That still isn't enough to finish him. Seriously, what the heck? Yeah, he's a god, but in video games as in life, losing your head typically means you're dead. In the end, it comes down to dodging Hades' final assault until you unleash a laser of DBZ proportions and finally finish him off for good. This fight is one to remember simply because of how crazy it is. Not only in how it plays, but with the dialogue that takes place as well. I'm not a fan of trolls, but Hades pulls it off so well because he's such a ham. I mean, he's so awesome that even in death he'll find a way to mess with you. If there was a ground battle to accompany this, it would have been a lot higher. Still, with the sheer amount of insanity you go through, this is a battle worthy of the heavens that will keep you coming back to hell for more. As you play through Sin and Punishment's Star Successor, you face bosses that are more and more insane until natural progression leads to Flandra Scarlet from Toho. I mean a mutated military leader. The battle against Commander Deco is unlike anything else in the game. I mean, you're fighting this guy in space as a mutated fusion of the game's protagonists. Also, this goes without saying considering this game's overall challenge level, but this guy is really friggin' hard. Deco's arsenal is loaded with attacks that cover most of the screen. Deadly stardust, laser walls, lasers that shoot bullets, tracking shots, space daggers, and even a wall of bullets that he can direct with a wave of his hand, whoa, that looks familiar, or draw towards his giant lance. Thankfully, you have full range of movement, and considering the volume of his attacks, you're gonna need it. Oh, and good luck trying to get the medals here, if you even care about those. The music in this fight is also fitting, as if to signify a fight against a bringer of divine punishment. And punishment is an apt description of this fight because it can quickly turn into bullet hell. Believe me, I've seen plenty of that. Trust me when I say you'll be giving that dodge button a bit of a workout here. But that's only half the battle. Once you drain his health bar, Deco, in a last-ditch effort, tears Kachi's soul from your body, and now you have to attack the endless waves of projectiles he sends your way before they can hit Kachi. Keep in mind here, you have infinite health in this phase. Kachi does not, and if she loses her health, it's game over. Thankfully, there's a checkpoint here. Some of these projectiles take more effort to send back at Deco, so it's up to you to figure out whether shooting or slashing is the best course of action for each wave. If you want a hard but satisfying fight, look no further. You're gonna be on the edge of your seat the entire time. Let's hope you've been working on your posture. Yeah, I'm with you, CJ. More people need to play this game.
Ganondorf.
Power and cunning are a dangerous combination for a villain, and that trumps any form of nostalgia when it comes to Ganondorf. No matter how much you try to stay ahead of him, he's such a skilled manipulator that you end up playing right into his hands. And nowhere is this more apparent than in Ocarina of Time. From the opening cutscene, you knew this man was bad news even before you knew his name. He waited for you to open the door to the Sacred Realm so that he could claim the Triforce. He waited for 7 years for Zelda to reveal her identity in order to capture her. And now, he's waiting for you so that he can reassemble the Triforce and claim the power he desires. Wow, talk about patient. Even the ascent to his chamber is foreboding, with the organ building up as you get closer, until you find him playing that very organ.
Well, every villain needs a hobby.
Here again, Ganondorf proves how intelligent he is. Remember the Phantom Ganon fight? Yeah, that was practice for this fight, but Ganondorf took notes on your Z-targeting and puts Navi out of commission before the fight even starts. Then he'll take out part of the floor, and thus begins the ultimate game of Dead Man's Pong. When you stun him, you only have a short window to knock him down with a light arrow before he recovers, giving you an opportunity to lay into him. He also has a multi-shot attack which can only be countered with a spin slash, which will stun him instantly if it works. Once you take him down, he decides to pull an Andross.
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
And decides to bring down the castle with you and Zelda still in it. Now you have a short time to escape with Zelda before the castle explodes in spectacular fashion. But just when you think it's over, Ganondorf emerges from the rubble pissed as hell, activates the Triforce of Power, and oh crap, shit just got real! Ganon drops the dwarf in favor of 2 massive blades and knocks the Master Sword out of your reach. So now you have to shoot him in the face with your light arrows and strike his tail with whatever you have. Meanwhile, Ganon tries to massacre you with his giant blades, which hurt so much that Zelda shrieks in terror if you get hit with them. Ultimately, you knock him down, then you make a break for the Master Sword, after which Ganon gets back up even bigger than ever. From here on, it's just you and the Master Sword against the brute until you knock him down again, at which point Zelda summons her power to hold him down, giving you the chance to finish the fight. By the way, not only does this fight play great, but there is so much atmosphere here. Ominous lighting, sinister and subtle music, and the Ring of Fire contribute to an atmosphere of dread. Oh, and those threats he makes as he's sealed away? Those aren't empty threats. He'll be back, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Many people throw around the word complete when describing boss battles, but if there's one boss that fits that description, it's the leader of Organization 13, Xemnas. Seriously, the word quit doesn't seem to be in this guy's lexicon, because this fight is as long as it is exciting. It starts with Sora and Xemnas going one-on-one on a skyscraper, keyblade to ethereal blades, with reaction commands that reach sci-fi levels of crazy. And that's just the start of the insanity. It soon escalates into using reaction commands to cut buildings in half, to dodging lasers,
Once again, of DBZ proportions.
to slicing through waves of nobodies to shut down the core so you can just reach the guy. And apparently Xemnas has something that resembles a heart because he attacks you using the weapons of his fallen comrades. Not to mention that he's so smug that he won't even move from his throne the entire time. He just sits there looking badass while you desperately look for an opening to attack. And then things get even crazier as Xemnas calls forth a giant mechanical dragon. Sora and Riku give chase aboard a strange aircraft as an amazing theme called Darkness of the Unknown begins to play. Here, your gummy ship skills are put to the test as you shoot down waves of nobodies with bullets and lasers and giant lasers as you damage the dragon and ultimately reach Xemnas again, who's still just sitting on his throne and looking badass. Similar to before, Xemnas uses the weapons of his comrades, with the addition of friggin' lasers, and on occasion will knock you clear into space. When this happens, you need to glide back towards him while dodging lasers and using reaction commands to throw buildings right back at him to break the dragon's guard. Only then can you get back to hacking away at Xemnas. Ultimately, Sora and Riku are transported to this weird void where Xemnas and his stylin' zebra jacket engage them in fast-paced aerial combat which would make the ladies of Arcana Heart jealous. Between his lightning-fast combos, dark tendrils, and laser barrages, Xemnas is fighting like he has nothing to lose. You're going to need to be at the top of your game just to keep up. There's even a moment where you play as Riku as you rush to save Sora when he gets captured. It all leads up to the most epic final attack by a villain ever! Sora and Riku frantically deflect a rain of lasers with reaction commands and ultimately deliver a Keyblade beatdown to land the final coup de grace. Dude, like I said, this is a long fight, but at no point are you going to get bored here. The fight tests everything you've learned, the visuals are a feast for the eyes, the music is awesome, and the sheer spectacle of the finale will take your breath away. This is a full-course meal of gaming greatness, and the amount of heart put into this fight is clear in every detail. It's one of the most complete final battles I've ever seen, and it's a complete masterpiece. I'd like to see Star Wars pull this kind of shit. The Geth Jerk have set their entire armada against Earth. In a desperate move, the wonderful 100 make a beeline for the Shirogane Comet, a huge anti-particle cannon, and seemingly wipe out the entire fleet. Until a gigantic fortress appears in the distance. The team, joined by Prince Vorkin and his band of pirates, plot a course for the Death Star wannabe. So, the final boss must be inside the fortress, right? No. The supreme overlord of Geth Jerk, Ginga, is the fortress. The entire game has been building up to this moment, and it does not disappoint. As you confront Mother Brain's bow, you have to smash each energy orb at its base, each time running to the hatch to open it and turn the knob for the next one. All the while, Ginga attacks with an uncomfortable amount of tentacles.
Not gonna quote the meme.
Remember, you also have Vorkin and his gang with you, giving you an extra 100 men, not to mention Mega Ultra Unite Morphs! Seriously, those are friggin' huge! Once the jar shatters, you'll have to whittle down the rest of his health while dealing with his lasers.
Not quoting that one either.
Then Ginga destroys the floor beneath you and sends you tumbling into the chamber below. He then proceeds to send his minions after you while he does the old backstory and motivation monologue, the likes of which we've heard to death. But at least his story has some originality to it.
In short, Ginga, the head jerk, brought his army of jerks into the past because the humans of the future were jerks. Wrap your head around that.
Things get even more crazy when Ginga dons his own Wonder Mask and starts throwing punches that can't be countered, sealing your teammates, and using dark versions of your Unite Morphs. Even after a cutscene in which you blow the brain apart, you still have to escape the fortress using not one, but 2 ships. All in a day's work. Except it's not over. Remember how I said Ginga was the fortress? Ginga unleashes his planet destruction form, which, by the way, is friggin' huge, and as one of the greatest boss themes in history starts playing, you take control of the Platinum Robo and begin Grand Theft Robot as you build your forces to 50, 100, and finally 200 to break his shields and ultimately damage him while dodging his arsenal of weaponry. And then it's still not over! Now he confronts you with his mechanical martial arts and meteors as you go for the weak spots on his arms, legs, and finally his head. But even after that, and getting pummeled by all 7 Unite Morphs and an Ultra Platinum Headbutt, Ginga still has one ace up his sleeve. You know what that means? Protect the Earth!
Okay, anybody whose hand was tired after that, raise your hand. Wait, I can't raise my hand. It's too tired!
Platinum Games went all out for this epic finale. Everything works here. The setting, the build-up, the gameplay, the music, the QuickTime events, the friggin' QuickTime events! this fight blew the roof off in what is truly the most epic display of what the Wii U can do. Which leaves one question. What the hell could possibly top this? Final bosses in the Mega Man franchise are something of a mixed bag. What I mean is that there are awesome ones like Wily Machine 9, the Sigma Battle from X5, and the Curveball against Lumine from X8. At the same time, there are disappointing ones like the Wily Machine 6 and the Sigma Battle from X6. But to find my favorite final battle of all time, we have to look somewhere else. So here it is, the final battle of Mega Man 03. Throughout the game, Dr. Satan Incarnate has been pulling the strings of strife with his trump card, Omega.
Someone say my name?
Not now, Snake!
After a brief fight in the intro stage, Dr. Vile uses Omega to set his plan in motion, culminating in taking control of Neo Arcadia and every Reploid on the planet with the power of the Dark Elf. After Cyber Elf X saves the Resistance, Zero pursues the evil Reploid into the depths of Neo Arcadia. It's time to fight Omega once again. And it is glorious. Now I know what you're thinking here. This looks just like the battle in the intro stage. For the most part, you're right. The music is the same, and he does have the same laser rings and laser orbs as the intro battle, only they come out faster. Omega has a new attack as well, a sword which he stabs into the ground and can cause debris to fly out. These attacks are relatively easy to avoid and give you the opportunity to trim down his health quickly. However, this is where the fight gets interesting. Holy shit, he's huge! This second phase is nothing to sneeze at. Giant heads of X and Zero aside, Omega's so big that the screen can't contain him, and the music that plays, appropriately named Judgment Day, pretty much tells you that this is Destruction Incarnate. Which is pretty accurate because this form's packing a massive laser, tracking shots, giant buster rounds, I-beams, and a homing energy ball that can drain your health. Yeah, the basic strategy for this phase is to keep moving. Between all those attacks, you're gonna have to find time to cut him down to size again. Ultimately, you land in the chamber where Zero was awakened, only to discover the biggest twist of all. So wait, Omega is the original Zero? No fucking way. This phase alone was enough to put this fight at the top. You are essentially fighting yourself in a battle to the death. Omega Zero's attacks are faster and more powerful than your own. This guy's packing saber combos, buster combos, charged slashes that cause rocks to fall, a rising slash, and not one, but 2 Giga attacks. This battle may be potentially very short, but since his attacks cause so much damage, you're gonna need to go beyond your A game if you need to prevail. Also, the boss theme, Cannonball, is sharp and fast-paced to fit the action perfectly. And if you consider the fact that Zero was originally a maverick to begin with, this battle becomes symbolic of what Zero once was against the hero he's become, just like the previous phase was symbolic of the struggle of the Elf Wars. And in the end, as Vile tries to revive Omega, Cyber Elf X and the remaining Guardians arrive to set the record straight. The truth is, even though Zero's body is a copy, his heart and soul are the genuine article. With that, the Dark Elf's curse breaks, and you are given control one last time to lay the final smack down on Omega and finish him off for good. All things considered, this battle has it all. It's challenging, the atmosphere is excellent, there's plenty of symbolism, the music is amazing, the fight plays excellently, and above all, there's the feeling of finality as you strike the final blow. The only thing that could have made this boss battle even better in my opinion, is if you are able to kill this bastard as well instead of having to wait another game to do it!
I'm the quarter guy, and I hate Dr. Vile!
Only I have the brains to rule Lilac.